I'm Nedra Knirk, President of Futura RGV. Welcome to our candidates, our moderator, and all of our FaceTime viewers out there who are watching our candidates tell you what they would like to do for you if they are elected to the position of U.S. Congress District 34. These are our Republican candidates for that position. Futuro RGV, our mission is to inform and educate the people and the communities in our RGV on quality of life issues that affect all of us. And certainly our elections are one of the most important things that affect all of us. So tonight we are introducing our Republican candidates for the congressional seat District 34, your district, and they are going to be on Facebook, Futuro's Facebook page right now. That's Facebook/FuturaRGV or Facebook.com/FuturaRGV right now. And they will be available, this form will be available then all through the campaign season up until Election Day. So you can watch it in your living room with your house slippers on whenever, and we hope it will help you to be more informed. I do want to thank our sponsors, our diamond sponsors, AT&T, Sam Garcia Architect, Rhodes Enterprises, Clark Chevrolet, Valley Land Title, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, DHR Health, Rio Bank, LNF Distributors, Ernie Williams, Copy Zone, our in-kind sponsors, Copy Zone, Upper Valley Mail Service, and of course, Crazy Stupid Live video creator, and Milo Rodriguez, who is filming this candidate forum, is with Crazy Stupid Live video creators. So thank you over there, Milo. I also want to thank some very important people to help get this to you. Stephen Wingert, Gabriel Ramirez, Matt Sestan, and Ryan Henry, and Carlos Varela. All of them are involved with AIM Media, who owns the Brownsville Herald and the Monitor, and their tech people and their expertise and their facilities are being used tonight, and we are very, very grateful to them. So now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Naxley Lopez, who is a very special reporter with the Monitor and has worked with Futura RGV on a number of occasions. And Naxley, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
Naxley then will introduce the candidates. And I do want to say that we have one candidate missing who is lost out in the hinterlands, but I understand she is on her way. So if she gets here, we'll add her.
Okay, perfect.
You're on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to have an important discussion with the Republican candidates for U.S. House District 34. And so you'll have a minute and a half right now to introduce yourselves and to answer the following question. Once we do that, you will have 1 minute to answer the next question. So we'll do 1 minute and a half, starting with a question. Besides the people in our community, what do you think is the district's single biggest asset and its greatest concern? And so we're going to start in ballot order. Mr. McCaffrey, you're first.
Thank you so much. My name is Frank McCaffrey, and I'm probably best known as the Channel 5 anchor, but I have an extensive background in media and political communications. I got my master's in government from Johns Hopkins, and I'm very grateful to be here. I love the Valley. Love the Brownsville Herald. So I just wanted to say that I believe the greatest asset that this district has is its small business and agricultural community. I do business with the small businesses. The Mexican restaurants are the best on earth, in my opinion. I mean, I get my hair cut at the local barber shops. I get my printing done at the local print shops. They are the best people. They do a great job. The ag community, great people. I've always enjoyed working with them. I've dealt with them many years now. And they've been through hell and back. They've been through floods, 3 major floods, Hurricane Hannah, which was devastating. The Texas freeze was just terrible. I remember being out with the citrus producers during the citrus freeze and watching as they sliced open the fruit and ice chips were inside. I looked at their face, I felt like I was looking at someone who had seen death. You know, they had really been through a lot. And I think that they are great people. The biggest problem this district has is often I hear that people don't feel that they have representation. I've often joked that I'm actually the congressman here because I get all the phone calls that are meant for people in Washington, but you know, people feel they can turn to me because I'm going to do something for them. And I know it always made me very upset. And I want to continue fighting for them, and that's why I will continue doing, I'll continue listening, continue fighting, making things happen.
Thank you so much. All right. Ms. Flores?
Well, my name is Mayra Flores. I was born and raised with humble beginnings in Burgos, Tamaulipas, Mexico. Both my parents were migrant workers. My father became an American citizen and filed for his family to be able to come to the United States legally. I was raised with very humble beginnings, raised with strong conservative values to always put God and family first. I think our greatest asset is our people in South Texas and the hard working ethic that we were raised with. Also, our location, most of our district is bordered by the coastline and Mexico. We should be using our ports, both land and sea, to amplify our imports and exports, businesses, and creating infrastructure. My home was flooded twice. I understand the struggle and why we need to fix the flooding issues that we have here in South Texas, and we shouldn't be waiting for a hurricane category 4 to land in South Texas to fix the issue. It's one of the reasons also SpaceX decided to build their base here in South Texas. We have the potential to expand our area by building manufacturing jobs that will bring real value and strengthen our economy. I am your pro-God, pro-life, pro-family, America First candidate. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kunkel?
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. My name is Gregory Scott Kunkel, Jr., and I am running for Texas' 34th Congressional District, the Laguna Madre District. We are pro-border, pro-business, and pro-people of South Texas. I was born at Knapp Medical Center in Weslaco, Texas, where my Hispanic mother began her 40-year career as a nurse and shared with me what it is to live the American dream. We were raised in Harlingen, Texas, where she put 3 kids through college, working full-time. I am fortunate to have graduated from Texas A&M University, where I met my beautiful wife of 13 years from McAllen, Texas, and we have 4 wonderful children. I've spent my entire professional career serving South Texas in agriculture, engineering, and now cybersecurity, as well as being a successful entrepreneur. Sin duda, and without a doubt, SpaceX is the single greatest asset the Laguna Madre District currently possesses. The reasons are threefold: exploration, education, and economic prosperity. This facility is unique to any in the world, and like the Frank Sinatra song, we are going to fly to the moon. The economic prosperity that comes with being a global spaceport, from manufacturing to tourism, is limitless. And as a child in the Harlingen School District, one of my fondest memories was going to NASA in the 6th grade, and today that opportunity is available to all the children of the valley in our district right in our own backyard. A child from our district may one day be on these rockets. Our children are witnessing history, and at the same time, our greatest concern, border security, this same child could fall victim to drugs, trafficking, or cartel violence. If you are pro-business, pro-border, and pro-people, vote Kunkel for Congress.
All right. Thank you so much. We do have our 4th candidate joining us right now, Ms. Juana Cantu Cabrera. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We will have, you will have a minute and a half to introduce yourself and to answer the following question. Okay, so besides the people in our community, what do you think is the district's single biggest asset and the greatest concern?
Where's the camera?
In front.
There, yes. Yes, thank you for having me. The best thing about our district is are the 5 counties that actually compose of District 34. Clayburgh, Kennedy, and Willacy all have a good farm, they're robust with economic and increased trade. Cameron County and Hidalgo County, we have Mexico the border of Mexico. We have port of entries. We have the ports of Harlingen, the port of Mansfield, the port of Brownsville. All of these increase the trade. What the biggest concern that I have is the district losing that industry, losing the purpose. Now, what I would like to do is, we have 90% of our federal 90% of our federal requirements are now imposed by regulatory agencies. We need to stop those regulatory agencies, and that is the bill that we need. My name is Dr. Juana Cantu Cabrera. I am the most qualified person to run for Congress. Please vote for me.
Okay. All right, we're going to begin our round of questions. So in the Rio Grande Valley, we have a lot of undocumented people. As a member of Congress, would you support a pathway to citizenship for people who are illegally in the United States? And so we'll start with Ms. Flores.
I don't think we should be talking about a immigration reform when we have a border crisis happening right now in South Texas. And until we solve that issue, we shouldn't be talking about an immigration reform. We've had over 2 million people coming into the United States illegally, over 100,000 children without their parents crossing illegally. Child trafficking is high. Women are being abused through this horrible journey. We should not be encouraging illegal immigration. We should be focusing on legal immigration. As a legal immigrant, I believe that border security is a priority. Once the border is secure, then we can move on forward in talking about an immigration reform, but not at the moment. We need to secure our borders.
Thank you so much.
No, the answer is no. I don't think they need to come in right now. Well, actually, they're here. The question is that they're here. No, I concur with her, but right now there's too many people that are living here illegally. The thing that we need to kind of focus on is how they can come in legally and that they do not compromise our health care. They're not just coming in with COVID. It isn't just a Mexico thing. The Mexicans don't come here. We have people from all over the world that come here, and they give us these diseases, tuberculosis, chickenpox. The COVID, right now, the 1.8 million people that came in, I work at the detention center. I take care of these individuals. We need to stop them from coming in.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Lopez. I, in fact, do support, contrary to the previous responses, a pathway to citizenship because it is an inevitable item that must be addressed on the congressional level. Complete congressional reform. However, I do, like President Trump, support merit-based citizenship. I want the best and the brightest to be here. I want people coming to apply, pass tests, and assimilate to the United States of America. Working at a university or going to a university, simply you are tested, you are vetted, and you must qualify to be there. And I want the best for American. Unfortunately, right now, humanitarian asylum is being abused, as well as cartels running and profiting more than ever. I want to tell you a small story about a Berlin immigrant I met who tasted an orange for the first time at 14 years of age. She has a PhD in oceanography, works to make Texas water cleaner, and at 14, she tasted an orange because the Berlin Wall fell. She is currently waiting to get her citizenship with a PhD in oceanography and has to talk and look at the dreamers who are being life-flighted in by the Biden administration. I think we should have testing, and I think we should have a way to do this productive for the benefit of the United States of America.
Thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, if you remember in those highly rated 2020 debates, Joe Biden said when he was bickering with Donald Trump something along the lines of, I want to have a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people. That was actually an invitation, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many. I believe what would work instead of a pathway to citizenship is very tough immigration policy and tough immigration policy enforcement. Now, that might sound cruel in some way, but I've actually seen how that is very effective. I covered the 2019 immigration surge, and that, of course, was also out of control. I remember having very busy days during that time. But what put a cork in that was the enforcement, very strict enforcement by the Kevin McAleenan era DHS of MPP. Now, if we have good policy, that keeps the immigration crisis from becoming too much of a crisis. There are options for how to handle the people who have come into this country illegally, but we do need people coming into this country legally. This is the shining city on the hill. This is the best country on earth. Of course you want to come to this country, of course, but we have to do it legally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sticking with the border, border security, what should it look like? Do we need to add more physical barriers? Do we need to tear them down? Or do we need something in between? So we'll start with Ms. Cantu Cabrera.
We need to get our government, our president, to just say, stop coming over. If we can utilize the wall, that's fine. But what we're having right now is that a lot of people, they're going to jump the wall. We have many people that come in with fractures. The wall is a good area to where it can be a barrier, but there are other ways that we can control or help secure the area. My thing about, again, I'm going to stress is that it's not just securing the border so illegal people don't come in. We need to make sure that they don't have health care problems. Tuberculosis is a big deal. It's contagious. So we need to secure our borders so we can have great health.
Okay. Mr. Kunkel?
My mother passed away this past year due to COVID-19 and worked at an immigration processing center where people that were turning themselves in front of the wall were taken directly after for health care. Border Patrol wants the wall. Border Patrol helped design the wall. Trump said, build the wall. The Democrats at the exact same time passed a bill that said, smart wall. I want to build the smart wall. It is the logical thing to do to use all of our resources, technology, military, as well as infrastructure to do it. Watching the Democratic debate last night that occurred on this exact same stream, Mr. Vidiel Rigny stated that barriers save lives. If you're driving on 83, there are barriers preventing you from going into the wall or construction. In Weslaco, Texas, there is a levee system that has barriers that prevent water from infiltrating. So if we have a flood of illegal immigrants, if we have inundation of our healthcare and public school systems, barriers and walls work, and I am for them at all measures.
Okay. Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, you know, when it comes to the border wall, you have to remember people live in gated communities, knowing that if someone really wants to break into their house, they can do it, but it's going to be a very strong deterrent. And I've talked with Border Patrol about the wall. I've talked with local law enforcement about the wall. They seem to support it because they know it's not going to stop everything completely, but what it does do is put the immigrants and the smugglers in a place where the police can stay ahead of them and they know where they are. So the wall really would work. I actually support it. I must also note that just the talk of the border wall was one of the things that, as I said earlier, put a cork in that 2019 immigration surge, and the wall was just starting to go up shortly thereafter. And just the talk of it put a cork in it. So we do know that it is effective. Of course, Joe Biden, if you remember, he took office January 20th, issued a series of executive orders. If I started listing them, we'd have to be here for another 5 hours because they're very lengthy, and there's also internal communications that come along with them. But I think what Biden did was, by saying, hey, we're stopping the wall, he issued another invitation.
Ms. Flores?
Prior to the Biden administration, we had one of the safest borders that we've ever had. It wasn't until the Biden administration came into office that we started with this border crisis. He created this. We must put back in place the policies that were working, the Remain in Mexico policy. We must hire more asylum officers. Everyone coming into our country is claiming asylum. The majority do not have a legitimate asylum claim. And we just need to start enforcing our laws. Our Border Patrol agents do believe that the border wall would help them. They're the ones putting their lives at risk, and the least we could do is provide them with the resources that they need. We have had a wall in Cameron County prior to the Trump administration, and it wasn't a problem. It became a problem until Trump came into office and wanting to expand the same wall that has been here in South Texas for a long time.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to a different topic. Texas and other states across the country are limiting access to abortion. Do you agree with these measures? Why or why not? We'll start with you, Mr. Kunkel.
We are the pro-life generation, and as we approach the 50-year anniversary of Roe v. Wade, we know that the incoming red wave will overturn this, and I thank President Trump for the Supreme Court justices that he put in. Science tells us that life begins at conception. It is undeniable. If they were to find a single molecule of life on Mars, it would be celebrated worldwide, but one cell inside of the womb of a mother, it is discounted like trash on the ground. I think it is a state's rights. I do believe in federalism where the states, anything not explicitly dictated by the United States Constitution, should be left up to the states. If New York and California want to kill children on their own, so be it. But I know that Texas stands for life. We stand for life. My campaign is pro-life, and we must protect the unborn.
Thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, I believe that God has created life in the womb at conception, and I don't think that we should ever take that away from anyone, especially a defenseless child. You know, everyone here got a chance at life from someone. I'm one of them, and I'm very grateful for my mom and dad. You know, what Governor Abbott in the Texas legislature did was set forth that 6-week rule, and it had a lot of the liberal talking heads going crazy. But the bottom line is what he's trying to do is bring about this movement that will make it so we can eventually overturn Roe v. Wade. Of course, the Supreme Court is taking up that Mississippi case, which I believe is a 15-week rule. And eventually that leads to, many believe that leads to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, you know, I believe that we cannot ever interfere with God's creation, which is life. I mean, you just can't do it. God created us all for a reason. We all have our destiny. I hope my destiny is to become a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Whatever it is, you know, this is a great country where you have great opportunities, and we want people to have that opportunity at life. And we do that in Texas, and my campaign is pro-life, and I thank you for supporting it.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores?
Well, we are the pro-life generation. I'm very proud to also support this. South Texas is pro-life. I was raised with strong conservative values to always put God, life, and family first. And I believe that if we are so proud of our community, our culture, our values, we should always defend life. We are nothing without life. So for me, it's a top priority. So absolutely pro-life all the way. And I am very proud to say that I was endorsed by Texas for Life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cantu Cabrera?
It's Dr. Cantu Cabrera, a doctorate. I obtained my doctorate in 2008 in forensic nursing. Forensic nursing was sexual assault nurse examining. I've been a sexual assault nurse examiner for 31 years. I am pro-choice. It's all about the uterus. It is that individual's choice of what they want to make. We need to not just think about the adult. In my work, when I had a 9-year-old that when I saw her, and she tried killing herself 4 weeks before, and I assessed her, and I checked, and she was pregnant. When you have a 9-year-old that says, I'm a baby, I don't need to have a baby, I'm going to listen to that little girl. It is about that individual. I will be the voice for the individual because that's that life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, my next question, Ms. Flores, I heard you mention endorsements. We can go ahead and talk about that. We'll start with did we start the previous question with you, Mr. McCaffrey?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about endorsements. Who has endorsed you? Who are your top donors? And how much money have you raised?
Well, as of now, you know, my endorsements have mainly come from the veteran community, and what it is they have bylaws in the groups where they can't endorse someone they can't endorse an individual candidate, but they can come out from under the banner. So the veterans have come out for me, and a lot of that is because I worked very hard with the veterans for years, and trying to get the best access to care at the VA. And as far as fundraising, we do have fundraising, and actually our fundraising is really just kind of kicking off now. A lot of my fundraising has come from family and friends. I've had a Chinese dissident group that endorsed me and gave me some money. Of course, they see that I know that this country is becoming a one-party system, so they want me to fight that because they don't want China. I've also had some local business people and some just local citizens who have given me money. I had one guy just come up and give me a $500 donation. And he said, because I always liked watching you. So I know that I speak on their behalf, that I'm running for them, and I will not stop listening to them and not stop fighting for them.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores, endorsements, donors, and how much money have you raised?
We have been working very hard for about a year now. We've raised over $200,000. We have been endorsed by Congressman Pat Fallon, also Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne. Also very proud to have the endorsement of Commissioner of Agriculture of Texas, Sid Miller. We've also been endorsed by J.M. Lozano. He is a State House representative for District 43. I have been endorsed as well by Clayburgh County Sheriff Richard Kirkpatrick as well. And we have also been endorsed by Alejandro Flores, Mayor of Los Fresnos. I have been endorsed by multiple conservative groups here in South Texas, Hidalgo YRs, Cameron County Conservatives. Very proud to have multiple endorsements throughout the state. I've also been endorsed by Right to Life, Texas Right to Life, been endorsed by Texas Latino Conservatives, had the support from Hispanic Republicans of Texas. And
Oh, my goodness.
Been very, very blessed. I thank God for all the blessings.
Okay.
And very proud.
Thank
Very
you
proud
so
of our hard
much.
work. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Cantu Cabrera.
I have, right now, I don't think I have anybody that's endorsed me. I think people know, I started this campaign on December the 1st. And the reason I started this campaign, the reason I want to become your congressman is because I really don't see either any one of these guys working on the community, doing what we need for our community. The focus is really, it's individual. I am a Latina. I am I don't know what you are. I don't know how long you've worked, but I've been working 38 years in Texas, here as a registered nurse, as a nurse practitioner. I'm an Army brat. I was not born here. I was born in an Army base as far as my other 4 brothers have. I don't have anyone endorsing me, but I am hoping right now you endorse me. Vote for Juana, Dr. Juana Cantu Cabrera.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel.
I am proud to say that I have 0 endorsements currently. We are a 100% organic grassroots campaign, and I can tell you that the people that endorse me are those that I've spoken to privately, who feel like their voice is being unheard, who would never have the gusto to talk in public about some of these issues, fear of retribution at work, fear of the public, and I am unafraid and ready to fight. These people have spoken to me in private messages, donated to my campaign. By the way, we have $250 in there in donations since Christmas when we got our account set up with the FEC, so I'm happy to say that. But at the same time, I'm certainly looking for more, but I am looking for local endorsements. I can also tell you that some of the largest endorsements and candidates from people on this forum come from out of this area, come from other areas such as Dallas, Lubbock, Houston, companies, people that are not part of this community, not part of the Laguna Madre district, and that is who I want to be endorsed by Kunkel for Congress.
Okay. Thank you so much. Did you get to answer that question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. All right. We are moving on to our next question. Do you support or oppose the legalization of marijuana? We will start this time with Ms. Flores.
I support medical marijuana. I've met multiple people who, one of my greatest friends, Mayra Rivera, her son just passed away a few weeks ago, and an article was written about her fight, and she's one of many who understand the importance of legalizing medical marijuana. Who am I to tell someone who is in pain, who's going through a disease that is causing them pain, and if that can help them, absolutely, I support it. But I support medical marijuana. I think that that's important to clarify.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Cantu Cabrera?
I support medical marijuana. I support legalization of marijuana, many different levels. I would love for us to grow an industry here. It can really help our economy. We can actually work with Mexico. If the Taliban is now running Afghanistan, maybe the cartel will teach us how to grow, and we can get them to stop being cartel. I've worked in the VA. I'm not working in the VA. I had to quit my job to run. And I wasn't in the medical use of marijuana until we had all these veterans that were on opioids. And the way they got off of the opioids was by utilizing marijuana. I think it's a great PTSD medication. I think we need to do it.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel?
I think Dr. Juana Cantu Cabrera is completely right. First, I'd like to address the potential in the ag community. The cannabis family, growing hemp in agriculture, is a brand new Texas crop that is ongoing. I know South Texas farmers personally that are looking at the viability of this crop. South Texas has a unique agriculture system where we grow crops worldwide and around the year, and if this is something we can add to our portfolio of crops, I am for it on that level. As well as small businesses. I heard a Democratic candidate last night, Mrs. Tijerina, talk about how the potential for women to get into the cannabis business, a multi-billion-dollar, I apologize, it was Mrs. Vallejo who said that, but for the potential for women to get in the small business of the hemp and cannabis industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry where anyone can get in on the ground floor now. And I think the research as well as the help for the veterans is there. One of the number one addictions that we have these days is opioid addictions from prescriptions from doctors. If that means switching to cannabis from opioids to save lives, I'm for it. If we help veterans that have PTSD, that have been to war, and just get pills from the VA, I am for that.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes, I also support medical marijuana legalization, but now we have to remember that this does help a lot of illnesses, legitimately helps a lot of illnesses, including one that a family member of mine suffers from. And so it is something that does help. Now, as far as recreational use, I mean, I would be willing to look at a piece of legislation that would legalize it for recreational use. I would want to review how things went in Colorado when they did that a few years back and see if it's actually helping anyone other than law enforcement waiting outside the borders to arrest someone. But I would be willing to look at a recreational use bill to see what the regulations are and whether or not it would be beneficial to society to legalize marijuana. Now, marijuana is historically a gateway drug, and it does lead to horrible things. I have seen it not just in the statistics. I've seen it in guys I went to school with, for example. So we do have to keep that in mind. Any kind of drug dependency can lead to terrible, terrible things in people's lives.
Okay, thank you so much. This morning, there were news reports that said inflation rose 7% last year. What, if anything, should be done to address it? We'll start with you, Ms. Cantu Cabrera.
Inflation. I think the biggest thing that we need to do is get rid of the regulations that the federal Congress has created. So many federal requirements or regulations, but it's been through agencies. It hasn't been through Congress. I think the biggest thing that we need to do in order to decrease inflation is basically have the people be the voice, get rid of these requirements, that the that the laws are, the requirements that agencies initiate rules that the legislative power should have, the legislative body should have those rules.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel?
The Biden inflation right now is historic. There is a reason that on Twitter, Bare Shelves Biden is trending, because there are numerous stores and supply issue chains that have not been resolved. If you look at when Joe Biden was elected president in January of last year, inflation was at 1.4%. March, it rose to 2.6%. In March, I might add, the Biden administration and the Democrats also released the $1.2 trillion package. In May, it went to 5%. October, 6.2%. The holidays, November, thank you, Joe Biden, for the Christmas gift, 6.8% inflation, and now in January, it was just released today, a 40-year high, 7.1%. And hey, you know what? The last time inflation was this high was 40 years ago in 1989. You know what was happening in 1989? The Cold War. Hey, Joe Biden, the 1980s called back. They want their inflation.
All right. Thank you. Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes, inflation just keeps soaring and soaring and soaring, and it's taking away from people's personal income at home, and it's taking away from their bottom line. I've, over the last several months, dealt a lot with the local restaurant owners. It might sound like I'm trying to be fun here, but a lot of the chicken wing places are very popular here in the Valley. They're very much part of the community. The chicken inflation has been insane for these people. These restaurant owners are just going crazy with the amount that they have to pay out for chicken. That's just one of many examples. And, you know, with inflation, we'll probably end up having high interest rates. So it's Carter all over again. And that would be a nightmare. Now, the best way to stop inflation is to stop, first off, we have to stop stimulus spending. And that's creating a whole downward spiral. I mean, we've got stimulus spending raising our deficits to a point where they're multi-trillion. I remember when the national debt at 1 trillion seemed like the end of the world. Our deficits are now multi-trillion. National debt's going to be hitting 30 trillion soon. Someone's got to go out in Capitol Hill. Someone's got to go on the House floor and say, hey, we got to cut spending. I don't care if it doesn't help me politically. I'll be the guy.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ms. Flores?
Well, we must stop Biden. How we stop Biden is by taking back the House in November. That's how we're going to stop this. He has created this crisis. We're paying a lot more for gas, for food. All people care is about their pockets. They see that they have a lot less money in their pockets. They want more money, and the solution is to remove Democrats out of office. So we must take the House back in November. We have to stop the Biden inflation, and that's the way, is by showing the Democrat Party that their policies do not work and they're not the American way.
Thank you so much. Would you support a $15 minimum wage increase, Mr. Kunkel?
Hell no.
Why or why not?
I mean, I understand, and it was brought up last night in the Democratic candidate forum that y'all had for District 15, I believe, but there's just no way that is feasible for small business owners. Some of the marquedos here, the tiendas, you think they're going to pay $15 an hour for someone to do that? Now, at the same time, I understand there's a black market of humanitarian individuals that are getting paid $3 to $4 per an hour to do these jobs. But $15, a business owner cannot do that, and our economy strives and runs on small business, whether it's agriculture, space travel, tourism, or a taco stand.
Thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, the $15 wage increase would be very hard for not just small business owners, but also big business owners. I mean, that's a huge chunk taken out of their bottom line, and it would kind of create a new labor shortage where they can't hire as many people. And of course, we tax and regulate businesses to death. I mean, without a private sector, you don't have a public sector. I hope our government understands that, because, you know, we're the ones paying the bill in the private sector, guys. And so if you want to keep regulating and taxing businesses, you have to remember they're not going to be as productive to pay the bills for the federal government. And oftentimes our leaders forget that. It's going to be very hard to hire to ask a small business owner to hire someone at $15 an hour. A lot of those guys are just trying to make payroll with the rates that they are now. So it's very, very difficult. You know, another thing we have to remember is that, you know, it's supply and demand. That is our economy. If there is demand for workers in a certain sector, well then, you know, they get paid higher. Look at the oil workers out in Midland, you know, and then the McDonald's workers who get recruited to go work in the oil fields, then they have to hire people for higher salaries at McDonald's.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores?
Walmart and Target can afford the $15 an hour, but not our small businesses. Owners are already hurting a lot due to the COVID-19 shutdowns. This will destroy our small businesses. They are the backbone of this country. So no, I don't support it because I'm worried about our small businesses. Like I said, they're the backbone of this country. I do believe in increasing the minimum wage, but not at $15 an hour. Again, we would lose all our small businesses, and I'm all about small business and promoting them.
Thank you. Ms. Cantu Cabrera?
No for the $15 an hour. Instead of minimum wage, let's just focus on the education. Let's put vocational programs back into the high schools. So when they do get out, they will get more than minimum wage. No for minimum wage because right now we're 27 trillion plus in debt. We're paying taxes. This area, we need to make it flourish. All the small businesses, we want them to strive. The big thing is we've got to teach them. I think we have to teach ourselves to strive and to get off of governmental assistance so they can become independent, prosperous. I think the fact that everyone here in the Valley has that resilience to do more and to be better, that's a great thing, but we're having a disconnect and we need to fix that disconnect. Let me connect it.
Thank you so much. All right, looking now at local issues, what do you think are the most important infrastructure projects that the federal government should be paying attention to here and or funding, starting with Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, I mean, a lot of the roads here are pretty beat up in the valley. So, the federal government would have to take a look at that. And then there's some infrastructure projects that just don't seem to ever end, on some of the highways here as we head, towards South Padre, or some people say as you head towards the McAllen-Edinburgh area. As a reporter who covered floods in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and I believe there were 2 floods in 2019, and I saw how devastating those were for people who were in the ag community, people who had uninsured homes. I think we definitely need to seriously ask the federal government to take a serious look at our drainage and do something that would make it a little bit easier for someone. A lot of the people in the valley don't have, the best incomes to get insurance for their homes. So we have to ask the federal government to look at drainage and look at perhaps FEMA insurance that's a little bit better for them, and essentially making that program readily available. It's already pretty available, make it readily available for homeowners here in the valley.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores?
Flooding issue, every little rain that we get, we're always flooding. My home has flooded twice. I understand the frustration and the struggle, and I believe that we need to focus now on the infrastructure before we get hit by a hurricane. We shouldn't be waiting. We've already have all these red flags and we're ignoring them. It's something that we must do now before it's too late.
Okay, thank you so much.
I agree with Ms. Flores, the flooding, drainage and flooding. We have to work as a district, work as a community to kind of get this set up. Mission and McAllen have started, they had a really bad flooding and drainage issue. And it comes down to Mercedes, that's our district. It comes down to Westlaco, that's our district. It comes down to San Carlos, La Villa, all that area, and Brownsville. So we need to create a generalized watershed. Something, they've already done that, but we need to create a generalized watershed so it can go somewhere, because it is going to be coming down. So the more people we have, the more our industry starts, the more we need to work on that drainage system.
Thank you. Mr. Kunkel?
Of course, flooding here in Texas is a problem, and I'll get to that in a few seconds. Some of the infrastructure projects that I would begin on right away, of course, are roads and transportation, more public transportation, as well as the second causeway that is currently in limbo due to regulation. I'm a fan of development of North Padre Island or the northern area of South Padre Island, and think that is a business asset that we must be working on right away. As well, at the same time, I have a background in hydrology, wetlands, and drone survey analysis, and I can tell you, the problems aren't necessarily the waterways that have been built. They were designed to take the water out of the valley. We are a river delta system. Although we were named the Rio Grande Valley as a media ploy back in the 40s and 50s, we are technically a Rio Grande Valley delta, which means that we are subject to floods. One hurricane coming, just like Beulah in the 1980s of Harlingen or the late 1970s, and there's nothing we can inevitably do. But what we can do is follow other examples like New Orleans and other areas where we need to take care of our drainage systems. Not only do we need the funding to produce the drainage systems, but there needs to be maintenance incorporated with them. And I'm happy to see the Arroyo Colorado watershed undergoing through that right now.
Thank you so much. Moving on to our next question. On January 6, 2021, thousands of people who supported President Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol. They attacked law enforcement officers and temporarily stopped Congress from counting electoral votes. Texas Senator Ted Cruz called it, quote, a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, but then apologized, calling his description sloppy and frankly dumb. How would you describe what happened that day? We'll start with Ms. Flores, actually. Did you get an opportunity to answer the previous question, Mr. McCaffrey?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we'll start with Ms. Flores this time.
No one agrees with the outcome of January 6th, which started as a peaceful protest, turned into a disaster. But we also felt to mention the Black Lives Matter riots that had happened for a year. They burned down thousands and thousands of businesses of minority-owned, causing billions and billions in damages. And it's just something that we all agree it should not have happened. The Black Lives Matter riot should not have happened. January 6th is something that we also all agree that it shouldn't happen. I believe that we should move forward. The constant media bringing this up is to cause division, and we need to come together and work together for the well-being of this country. And at the end of the day, Democrats or Republicans, we're all Americans, and we all want what's best for this country.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cantu Carrera?
As an Army brat, my dad was in Vietnam War. He was in the service for 25 years. When he came over here to retire, he settled down in the city of Mercedes, and they've been there since. I didn't like what happened in the Capitol. I didn't like what happened, but there was peace within that Capitol. There were people that were picking up trash. There were people that were trying to make sure that the inside of that Capitol was okay. There was a veteran that was shot in that Capitol. Nobody's ever talked about that veteran. I really want to know a little bit more. The media has, I don't know who used the term mob, who used whatever negative term. Everybody there, they were not terrorists. We're all American. We all need to get along.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kunkel?
I want to start by saying that Democrats believe conservative free speech is violence, and Democrats also believe that violence is their free speech. I watched Democrats on the anniversary of January 6th compared to 9/11, where over 2,700 Americans died on that single day. And I completely agree with Dr. Juana Cantu Cabrera when she said that one person died, and she was a protester, a veteran, and say it with me, her name was Ashley Babbitt. We need to look at other things. Senator Ted Cruz was questioning the assistant director of the FBI yesterday, and even asked her, were there any undercover FBI informants part of that rally, part of that riot? She stated, we cannot, she didn't say no, she stated, we cannot reveal our sources and methods. He asked, were there any confidential informants within that group? Did anyone commit any acts of crimes or violence? This is on congressional record, and the assistant FBI director says, I cannot answer that question. Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, LA, Kenosha, Waukesha, DC, St. Louis, Seattle, Portland, all had riots, all had destruction and violence, and I think Congress got a little bit of taste of their own medicine.
Thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Now, if you remember, President Donald Trump called for a peaceful protest on January 6th, and things got out of hand. I remember actually putting out a cease and desist in my communications as did one of my clients. It was a terrible incident. It is time to move on. And, you know, also there was an Antifa raid of the White House that few people talk about, and there was a shooting of different Republicans, which ended up almost taking the life of a very prominent member of the U.S. House, Steve Scalise, that, you know, Republicans aren't bringing up over and over again. Now, I think what happened on January 6th is something that has been unfortunately used as a political tool by the Biden administration, where they keep bringing it up, and a lot of the mainstream media keeps bringing it up as a way to advance their politics. But I think it is time to forget about that, move on. Whether or not that helps the Democrats politically is probably the question. There is no need in this country to have violent protest. Peaceful protests are what the First Amendment's all about, and First Amendment is something that we should never, ever, ever lose. And some see it slipping away. I at times see it slipping away, so I will continue to fight to defend the First Amendment.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe we have time for maybe one or two more questions. Yesterday, I asked the candidates if they shared any common ground with Republicans. So today I'm going to ask you, do you share any common ground with Democrats? And I believe it's Mr. Kunkel's turn to start first.
Without a problem. Yes, ma'am. There is a lot of common ground that we share with the Democrats. I watched that debate last night that you moderated. You did a fantastic job, Ms. Lopez. And some of these common ground proposals, as well as bills we can work on, are, of course, infrastructure for South Texas, roads, flooding, bridges, a causeway. All of these things we all support. As well, some of the things that we support were pro-wall and pro-barriers. I was happy to hear Democrats yesterday say that we need the wall. We need to control immigration. I also heard Democrats state that they need less regulation in order to increase business that is going on here in South Texas. So I believe there are many issues that we can work on together. We may not always agree on the means on getting to that end, but the ends within themselves we can certainly work on and find a compromise and solution.
Thank you so much. Mr. McCaffrey?
Well, there's one issue that I agree with most Democrats on. There are some who are out in the far left who, the type of people who would actually applaud 9/11, and I have met those people. But most Democrats, and I agree, and Republicans agree, that America is the greatest country ever. We're the shining city on the hill. That's why you don't have an illegal immigration issue with people going into Kazakhstan or going into Sri Lanka. They're coming to the United States. You know, this is the best country ever. I also, just an interesting story, I believe that Republicans and Democrats alike will always come together on human rights issues. However, that is disputed because, you know, what are we doing with the Uyghur population in China? Are we ignoring them? I think the Democratic administration should probably be a little bit more vocal about that. But I do believe that most Democrats and Republicans agree, generally speaking, on human rights, that all people are guaranteed human rights by God. And it doesn't matter if you have an oppressive regime or a brutal dictator as your leader. You should be given your human rights. And in America, we all have our human rights, but it is up to us to raise a stink about other countries that don't.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores?
Of course we do. The problem is that we're focused on what we disagree, and that's why nothing is getting done. But I do believe that the Democrat today in 2022 is not focused on the well-being of the American people. They're putting everyone else first, and I think it's time that we start putting the American people first. I want and will make sure to always put District 34 first. It's time we put the well-being and our families first. I understand us wanting to help other people, but if we're not doing good, if we're not prospering, how are we going to be able to help others? So I think it's time that we start putting the American people first, and that's the problem with the Democrat Party today, that they're not putting the well-being of the American people first.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cantu Cabrera?
Everything he said, I didn't watch what they had, but everything that he said, if that's what they believe in, that's great. I do feel that what we need to focus on is this $27 trillion debt. We need in 9 years, all of our baby boomers are going to be 65 and older. We need to figure out how not to utilize funding. So we need to be the answer. We need to be the one to start making our own revenue and not working off of the government. I think the only thing, the commonality that I have with the Democratic Party that these three individuals don't is that I'm pro-choice. And it's important that we all have our decisions. We have our individual decisions, and if we're able to talk, we're able to make things happen.
Ms. Lopez, may I add that thanks to you all at Futuro last night's debate, I learned the difference between an LA, New York Democrat and a South Texas Democrat. And I am proud that I would have never known, nor had I ever seen them speak about the South Texas Democrat. And I learned about that yesterday from that debate.
All right. Okay, we are going to wrap this up soon, so we're going to do 1 minute for closing remarks. We'll start with Mr. McCaffrey.
All right, I thank you very much for this time. I've really enjoyed myself. I just wanted to ask for your vote one more time. You know, I know the Valley, I know this district well. I've spent many years with people here who have tons of money and people here who were selling plasma to survive. And I fought for every one of them. I did not stop listening. You know, we're fundraising. We can make the $1 million needed. We got endorsements coming in, but more important, I've just talked to so many people in the last few months. I've learned that the independents are coming our way. Democrats have been denouncing their party to come on board with me. So, I mean, I asked for your vote. It's not all about me. I'm not trying to be the star here. I've already been the star. I didn't find the fulfillment in that I found in Jesus Christ, you know. So it's not all about me. It's about the future of this country. We see it changing. We see the left doing some things that, you know, we just didn't used to see, and so we got to go to Capitol Hill and fight that. I'm asking you to join me. I will not stop listening to you. I will not stop fighting for you, and I will not stop getting things done.
Thank you so much. Ms. Flores, closing remarks.
Lots of Democrats last night claimed to be moderate or conservative Democrat, but at the end of the day, they're going to vote just like Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi does not represent our values. I believe in legal immigration, securing our borders, lowering our taxes and our health care, promoting small businesses and less government. I am a proud Border Patrol wife, respiratory care practitioner, mother, wanting a better future for our children in South Texas. The Democrat Party has felt entitled to the Latino vote and little to show in return. I plan to change that and earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cantu Cabrera.
I've been in the Valley for 49 years. 38 of those years I've worked, and I've seen the negativity and I've seen the positivity. This year I almost lost my parents, both 90 years old. I had an opportunity to help them, but during that time they actually told me about the city of Mercedes and the consequences, the way there was discrimination. And this critical race theory really triggered me to run. When a father got arrested at a school board meeting, his daughter was sexually assaulted in a bathroom by a boy that was dressed like a girl. And that boy that was dressed like a girl did the same thing at another school. And then the FBI ended up arresting him as a domestic terrorist. We need to stop this. We need to stop. Vote for me.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Kunkel.
My name is Gregory Scott Kunkel Jr., and I am running for Texas' 34th Congressional District, the Laguna Madre District, and I humbly ask for your vote. I would like to thank Futuro, the fellow candidates, and the voters watching for becoming better informed citizens by becoming more informed voters. Democrats are scared, as they should be. A red wave is coming, and even now their issues have crossed into conservative territory because the people are demanding it. Border security, infrastructure renewal, lower taxes and regulations for business. These are things I will work on in Washington on day one. I have served the South Texas community my entire professional career, starting in the Cameron County AgriLife Extension Office and most recently at the Texas A&M Cybersecurity Center. I know the issues from the ground up, cyberspace to outer space. I've talked to families, immigrants, and all citizens in all walks of life, and am a voice for the conservatives that are unheard and hiding in the shadows. I know the hard decisions that need to be made, and I'm ready for the criticism and the crucifixion it takes to get the job done.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Before I give the floor to Ms. Nedra Kanerk, I'm going to remind our viewers of some important dates to keep in mind. The last day to register to vote is January 31st. Early voting runs from February 14th through the 25th, and Election Day is March 1st. So, thank you so much, and I'm going to toss it back to Ms. Nedra.
Thank you so very much, Nexley. And thank you to our candidates. I am so proud that we have people who care about our communities, our RGV, and are willing to put forth the effort and the energy and all else that it takes, the emotional energy, to serve our people. So thank you. I would like to thank all of the people who are watching on FaceTime and later on our website, and help us get the word out. You can watch this forum anytime, 2 o'clock in the morning, on your bed if you have a TV, whatever. But get the word out so that people can learn about our candidates. And then I have somebody very important to thank that I omitted before, Venture X. Do you know what Venture X is? No. Venture X is this building. And actually, the Brownsville Herald is one of the tenants of this building and uses it very productively. And so Venture X was kind enough to cooperate with the Brownsville Herald, and of course we're cooperating with the Monitor too, to allow us to put this forum on in their facility. So thank you, Venture X. And now I'd like to mention that Futuro is holding a number of candidate forums which can be accessed also on the Futuro RGV Facebook page and website. And I gave all of you a little brochure here, so you can take that and spread the word. We are doing House District 15, House District 34, House District 28, and the Texas Senate District 27, the Hidalgo County Judge, the State Board of Education number 2, the Hidalgo County District Attorney, and the Hidalgo County Districts 2 and 4. See, we started in Hidalgo County, but we're reaching out to the rest because we are RGV. And we are doing House District 37. And all of them will be available on our Facebook page and on our website. Help us to help the voters know that they can hear what you are saying and hear all these candidates on our Facebook page. And so with that, I'd like to thank you all, and especially our audience out there who is watching. And I want you to, I think it's very important that you be an informed voter. You need to exercise your duty, you need to exercise your right, and you need to exercise your privilege to vote and to keep a strong democracy. And with that, I thank you and good night.